All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the VR Download, a weekly show recorded live from the Upload Virtual Studios, where we bring you the latest news, reviews, comments, and interviews from the VR industry. My name is Kyle, Operations Manager at Upload, and let's see who we have on the rest of today's panel. Over here to my left.
Hi everyone, I'm Harry, head of Upload VR's Australia division, which comprises of just me, doing pretty well. And over here we have
Ian Hamilton down in Southern California in the mountains with my LTE internet connection that's working right now. Yes.
There we go. Look at that.
Okay. Fantastic. So just like last week, we are in the newly revamped Upload Virtual Studio. So keep in mind that there may be little kinks and things that need to be tweaked still, but we are getting very close to awesome sauce. You can see up here on the wall, we have the, we need to come up with a name for this. So audience, if you can give some ideas of what we want to call this. We don't want to call it Jumbotron, but let's come up with a name for it.
Yeah, you want to give the screen a name?
We want to give the screen a name, like Jumbotron.
Jeff.
Yeah. So
Jeff
not Jeff. No, not Jeff.
The Jeff
okay.
Botron.
Well, yeah, we're not sure if this new time is permanent, but it is temporary. So this will be the time, at least for upcoming episodes. So bear with us on that.
Wait, we might go to 1 p.m. next week.
1 p.m. We're going to go to 1
p.m.
p.m. Okay, so 1 p.m. Pacific, and that's going to be the good new time. That was decided. Okay. Yes, Heaney God is putting that into my ear right now. Fantastic.
Shout out to Wesley. He said first time he's been able to catch one of these live. He's always watched the video release later. Thanks for joining live, Wesley.
Sweet.
Nice to have you here. And shout out to Adam and Gerald who are here as well. Yeah. Anyway, what's first on the agenda, Carl?
Well, hey, I think we should get into the news of the week right now.
Sounds great.
Let's do it. Okay, so the first piece of news that we have for the week is that Facebook reportedly developing a new Quest, 20% lighter, 90 hertz refresh rate, new touch controllers, cheaper materials. Hopefully that means inexpensive and not poor quality. The new Quest. The new Quest. It's going to be amazing, or is it? Here's the old Quest, or the current Quest, I guess we would say.
What a bombshell big news piece to start with.
You think so?
Well, I think so, yeah. I mean, it's funny because last week we were talking about exactly this. We were having a little debate about this, and now within the week we've had more details come out. But I'm all for it. 20% lighter, give it to me. Anything that makes this thing lighter on my head, I'd be keen. That's the main thing for me. So I'm keen for the lighter part. I mean, I don't think when you say inexpensive materials, I don't think that's going to make a difference to the consumer price on the other end, right? I can't see it being any cheaper, but hopefully it's not cheaper built. But
well, I think the nomenclature is important. Cost, value, cheaper, less expensive. I mean, these words have meanings that if they want to say that it's going to be less expensive material and then it's going to be lighter. I don't know. Ian, what is your take on this new, we have a picture up here now. Obviously, I'm assuming that all the way to the right there is closer to.
Well, these are the half domes. Yeah, and the half domes are sort of the all-day headsets that Facebook wants to build. So ideally, the Facebook Research Lab, FRL, Facebook Reality Labs, they're sort of set this goal for themselves of building a VR headset that you'd want to wear for 8 hours, you'd be comfortable wearing for 8 hours. And they would do that by sort of unlocking the idea of varifocal or something at least beyond fixed focus where your eyes are just focused at a single distance, and they probably use eye tracking to make sure they're looking, where your eye is pointed, and then they show you the most resolution as well as focusing your distances there. And these things are very unlikely to be in a Quest in any near term. Like this design is the 8-hour thing. What they need to do with Quest is make it not hurt your head after 20 minutes, which is the case for a fair number of people, because that front-heavy design is so heavy on the front of your face.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
I
I
will
think
say,
they've got the battery, the processor, everything up there.
I will say I saw a very astute observation on Twitter this morning. I don't recall exactly who said it, but the question was this: is the current Quest too heavy, or is it just not distributed correctly?
Yeah, it's not distributed correctly.
Yeah.
And
It's all
it's too
front
heavy.
heavy, right? I mean, it's both.
Both.
It's a 2 pound. The correct answer is both. I think. Wouldn't hurt for it to be lighter, would it? But also, it wouldn't hurt for it to be distributed more evenly. So, yeah.
The question, like the bigger issue, is sort of like if they put anything at the back of the headset, is it going to be more likely to break? Because they would have to run wires through the lining of the headset, I mean, I suppose they could do something over the head, but like if you're constantly stretching this thing out and adjusting the fit, what are the chances that anything that's in the back of the headset gets broken coming to the front? Then again, maybe they don't do the thing on the back. Maybe they just, reduce weight in some other way.
If you look at the Microsoft HoloLens, the OG HoloLens, I'm not really sure about the HoloLens 2, but the OG one, the bars that went along the side of your head contained components. And so all the way to the back, and it just kind of opened up. It bloomed open as you stretched it out or closed it up. I think there's a lot to be said for what Ian mentioned is, we don't want a failure point, but if we can just utilize the sides of our heads for more components, we might end up with a little bit more oomph. I mean, you could make 2 bars on the side that are both batteries and get rid of the entire battery weight from the front and evenly distribute it. That's just my opinion.
There was a comment on Twitter, I can't remember who said it either, but it was a mention that if you put things on the back of the head, it's not going to be as great for laying in bed and watching a movie on your ceiling. If you've got like a big chunky thing on your head at the back. So that could be a problem.
Quick poll. Harry, have you ever laid in bed and looked up at the sky and watched a movie?
Every night, Kyle. Every night before I go to bed, I chuck on my Quest and watch it. No, I've done it probably once, I think.
Okay.
Probably,
Ian, what about you?
Once when I got the Quest.
Yeah.
I just tried a feature. I was trying out, I think, the 3-off mode, trying to find the mode that lets you do that, and that was it. I really have never done that.
So no.
I did it once on the go, but that's it. So I'm not really sure if that is a feature that we need to be worried about. What's that now?
One thing I want to point out is Lucas a bit earlier, he made a comment saying that, it doesn't surprise. It's a bit like saying Sony are planning to make a PlayStation 6. It's not really surprising, but good to hear anyway. Which I think is interesting, but also the release date on this, or the rumored release date, was probably sooner than, or maybe not sooner than what we were expecting, but pretty close.
I mean, so the thing, I'd have to remember what Bloomberg said, but I mean, the COVID-19 throws all predictions out the door, and they're going to get it out whenever they can get it out, right? So could be 2021. I still think Facebook's going to be pretty aggressive in trying to get their Quest product line really extended. But COVID-19 really messed with the timeline, and I think that's the ultimate fear. And when you said old Quest, that's what I was saying was a bad thing, was a joke, was just how many people are going to not buy Quests because they've heard that a better one is around the corner, because that's constantly the thing that people with technology do, is I'm going to wait for the next one. And there's even that funny meme out there of like missing each generation of VR until you're super old and don't want, you're sort of in the gray already before you decided actually to buy a VR headset.
So, shower thought this morning is that typically when a new version of something comes out, you have a clearance sale of the older model, and folks who are a little strapped for cash find themselves taking advantage of that and getting the old Quest. I know I said it again, the original Quest at a lower price. But with all of the things that are happening in the world right now, will there be that a volume of leftover inventory of the old hardware? I mean, that might actually hurt the industry a bit if that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, it's not like we've got a backpile of these things, have we? They're not Oculus Go's. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. There actually might not be that many to actually kind of sell off. I mean, it depends though, because it also I remember David the other day said he was talking to us, and he said that it seems like I think it was David. He said they're not so hard to find in shops, like physically. He said I think he said he had a friend who went and just got one from a Walmart or something. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe physically if there's a few left, but again, it's not like there's back piles, so it still wouldn't be that many. That's an interesting point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't know. I don't know.
Very
I mean,
interesting.
do we know, Ian, when to expect this new version? I mean, originally it was
No.
said end of 2020. Now we're
But
talking about
now who
2021.
knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, COVID-19. I mean, their first mission. I wrote so before the Bloomberg article came out. I did an editorial where I talked about some of the things we
Mhm.
want out of a future Quest, and it's pretty much in line exactly with what was in the Bloomberg report. And the first in that editorial, I basically wrote that the first thing that they need to do is meet the demand they currently have for the current Quest. So they've got to
Mm-hmm.
get that in order. And the Zuckerberg is out there saying, I wish I could make them faster right now. And I think there's a lot of honesty in that just they literally cannot make them fast enough to meet the demand. So there's a lot of work to do that, and especially by the time we get to the December timeframe again, they're going to see a spike in demand again for the holidays, and they've got to have enough on hand for that. So I don't know. There's a lot of things they could do behind the scenes with manufacturing. Where I don't know. Do they give Quest 2 to a different manufacturer to make for them so that they don't put all their eggs in one basket next time? Do they even go to a different country so that if things go haywire?
Is there a world where both models are sold simultaneously for a little bit?
I think so. It's a possible.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely a
because we're
possibility.
thinking about, there's not back stock for them to kind of work through, but
Well, there's
especially
a lot
with
of
this
debate
stuff
over
going on,
where they price this, right? If it
Yeah.
has two extra cameras on there, because one of the big features that's sort of wished for is RGB pass-through, so that you can have true, like higher quality AR experiences on a VR headset and
That'd
not
be
have to
so
look at a
good.
black and white world. And then, of course, they double the frame rates of all the cameras so that they're sampling the world at a higher frame rate. They put a new processor in there that maybe helps them decrease other things, on like maybe decrease weight somehow. But the question of all that is, where do they price it in their lineup? And it
Yeah.
really makes sense for them to go towards the high end and maybe going 600 to 800, and then they could just leave Quest on the market for much longer.
Fun game, right? We're gonna come back to this in a year's time or whatever. Ian, what's your prediction for what it's called?
Oh, yeah.
What is it called?
So we've talked about Quest 2, Quest S, Quest Pro. Of all those, I think, and Quest Plus also.
Plus,
yeah, if it's Plus or Pro, that makes a lot of sense. Pro I like a lot because it implies this is the one you're going to use for
Is
work.
there enough to call that a Pro? I don't think there's enough. If we're thinking, okay, there's a few extra cameras, new updated controllers, a bit lighter, that to me indicates like a slightly newer model with some improved stuff. I don't think it's a Pro. Mind you, there is a really common trend of calling things Pro when they're not.
Quest S,
actually
Quest
Pro.
S makes the most sense. The more I think about it, yeah.
I got it right here. I got it right here.
It.
Quest Neo.
Quest Neo, really?
Right? Why not? If I had told you that their standalone was going to be called Quest, you'd have told me I was crazy. So why not? Just continue with the absurdity. Quest Neo.
Quest Neo.
Yeah.
Quest X.
To compete with Morpheus. Yeah.
Sure. Exactly. Would be funny and brilliant.
For those who don't remember, that was Sony's code name for their
it was Project
PSVR before it was out.
Morpheus. You have to say it as low of a pitch as you can. Morpheus.
What about Quest Long Beach? Quest.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Quest Los Angeles. Quest Santa Monica Pier. Yeah, I don't know. So you're saying Quest Neo, you're saying
S makes the most sense, I think, because it fits with what they did with the Rift S. Then again, maybe they want to get rid of the.
You know what?
Make people forget about Rift more and more over
Quest
time.
Plus. And you know why I'm going to say Quest Plus? Because it's pass through, and pass through plus. And I'm going to reckon they continue with
Quest
the plus
Plus
trend.
makes sense, yeah.
Right, because
Quest
Disney Plus and Google Plus,
Disney Plus,
and
you're not over promising. Then it's not a pro. It's not, you can't have it's not really pro. It's just a few. It's a plus. You're adding a few cameras, a few extra things. If they added cameras and you could have full RGB like the AR setup on the home, I would love that. And it's really interesting because yesterday I was getting my housemate to film some of me. I had the AR view and I could see what he was doing and point to and whatnot. But yeah.
Good.
All
More
right,
comments?
well, yeah.
Let's have a look at the comments. We've got Quest C by Cake Batter for comfort. Gerald says, I don't think it'll be a clear Pro version either, like the Rift S. Truth, I mean, there's precedent for Quest S because Rift S.
Bye, Harry.
Well, see.
Sorry, I activated my pass-through mode by accident by double tapping on the headset.
But I love
there
it.
we go.
All
and
right.
And someone else said Quest SE. Interesting.
SE.
Yeah, special edition like an iPhone.
Special edition. Yeah. Even it's never officially been like, they never confirmed that's special edition, I don't think. I think it's just like,
oh God, I hope it's not.
It.
Oh, I hope it's not going to be Quest XR. Hey, you know what?
Or it's
let's move
Quest
on.
2.
Let's move on to our next piece of news here for this week. Half-Life Alyx, because we can't go a week without mentioning Half-Life Alyx. No, we can't. It catapults VR headsets on Steam to 2 hold on, can I do a no, I can't. 2 million users.
Oh.
Yes, 2 million users. That's amazing. Wasn't it Mark Zuckerberg who stood up on stage and says, we're going to put 1 million people in VR, and then, Gaben is just sitting there going, who did it?
Yeah.
Who did it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. 2 million.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, inevitably, I think, because there was so much out there that we probably have to mention, there was inevitably a lot of weird articles about, spinning the 2 million as like, oh, it's only 2 million, or particularly because I think that was something like 2% of everything on Steam, which to me, when you think like Steam is huge, there are so many people on Steam to have like a 0.5% increase of like the Steam user base is a huge number. Like, forget the actual numbers behind it. Steam is installed on a lot of stuff. Like, yeah. So I was quite, I knew there'd be a big increase because, as they said when they changed the hardware survey, they said, the March one wouldn't count for Alyx because it was, I can't remember the exact technical reason, but basically it would be the April one because of the way that it was the first 2 weeks or something like that. Oh, it's because the hardware survey takes place in the first 2 weeks, so Alyx wasn't out yet, right? But yeah, so it was a big increase. I mean, and clearly because it was from Alyx, and it's interesting that it's just so interesting the pull that has, like nothing else. I can't think of anything else that's had. There's no other IP so far that has that amount of pull. Half-Life is such a big deal. It's still quite shocking, but yeah, I mean, fantastic. Good on them.
We'll see what Medal of Honor does when it comes out. Yeah. But Medal of Honor will obviously be an Oculus thing, so we won't see those numbers unless Facebook decides to say something.
That's true. I don't know. I don't even... everyone keeps saying, we'll see what happens when Medal of Honor comes out. To me, Medal of Honor doesn't have the same... like, Half-Life is a...
Oh, sure.
That's a huge deal. Like, I guess, I don't know. Maybe it's because I've never played Medal of Honor. It's not my kind of thing, but... I don't know. I don't know how you're ever going to get something as big as the return of Half-Life ever again. Like, that's just it's literally a once in a lifetime thing. It's been so long that it came back and it came to VR. The fact that even happened is just...
Well, imagine if they did Half-Life 3 in VR, right? I mean, that'd
be the only thing that'd probably get you close.
Yeah.
True, that's true.
I think's interesting about those numbers is how many of them were just people dusting off their old headsets that have been sitting around, versus how many people bought Quests or Indexes
for those at home, just
or Rift S's,
so you know how it works.
In order to get
the
online.
Hardware survey recently, you don't have to have you don't have to have the headset plugged in when they do the survey. As long as you've had it in your connected to your computer at some point in the month, Steam takes note of that and it will pick it up in the survey. And so obviously, if you've got a Vive or something that you've had for 3 years and you haven't plugged it in for a long time, that's going to go up compared to the last month. So let's look at the numbers here.
You got Vive Cosmos at 1% and PlayStation VR at 0.5%. Good job.
The fact that 0.5% of Steam have PSVR connected to Steam.
Wait a minute.
Amazing. Also, one thing I want to point out. I just want to say, Gerald.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Now I've lost the comment. Hang on, let me check my outside of VR. Oh, so Gerald said, how much of it do you think was COVID-19 that forced these sales, and how much do you think of it was Alyx? Because obviously those two things coincide, which is an interesting question. Because I definitely know some people who are like, well, got nothing better to do. I'll order a headset to escape.
All the headsets were sold out in COVID-19, and the problem with saying like crediting COVID-19 with the sales is that they were sold out very badly before COVID-19 started ramping up. So like it was hard to get a Quest, it was hard to get a Rift S.
True.
No, it was a little easier to get a Rift S, but it was very hard to get an Index and a Quest even before people started waking up to the fact that this thing was going to be a pandemic.
I do know people that did buy it because of COVID-19. I think it still is a little factor. Definitely not a big one, but yes. Go on.
I have a small question about the way that this is tallied. So any piece of hardware that was plugged into my computer over the course of a month is going to show up in a statistic.
I don't think it shows up mainly they changed the way it works with VR so that it picks up. If I plug in a Quest, it goes, okay, Quest was plugged in.
Right. But what if I've had 1, 2, 3...
Yeah,
six of them plugged into one computer in a month. Do I count for all of those?
Yeah.
Are we sure about that? I mean, we should ask if they dedupe.
I'm pretty sure because it just picks up all your hardware that you've plugged in. So there's no reason why it wouldn't. A bit like if you had 2 graphics cards in there for whatever reason, it would pick up. You have 2 graphics cards. It's not a per person. So I mean, look, we should ask, but I don't think that's how it.
So somewhere out there is a statistic. Somewhere out there is a statistic that says
how many people have every
people
headset.
have multiple headsets. Yes, I want to know that.
I'd love to see the crossover. Right? Like, how many people have a PSVR and like a Rift DK1 and like a Index? Like, who's hitting all areas of it? It'd be interesting. But it's definitely, I don't know. It's cool that it's also picking up the Quest now. They've added that, and as you can see, the Quest is up from last month. It's got +3% from compared to last month. So obviously, that's a lot of people using Link to play Alyx,
and of course,
presume.
Yeah, and for the people that are wondering out there, the 1.91% there at the bottom, we basically take an estimate that there are probably around 100 million Steam accounts because Facebook or Valve publicly said a while back that they had 90 million Steam accounts. And if you assume that somewhere in that range between 90 million and 100 million, given their regular growth, that's how we end up with that estimate that there's more than 2 million. The reason we have to say that is because Superdata is out there and other analysts with very strange guessing numbers. And we want to be very upfront that this is a guess too, but we're showing our work.
Right? Yeah. And to be clear, just for people who also don't know, they don't obviously survey every single person on Steam. They take there's a small sample. However, Valve did say to us in an email that they feel that the numbers are accurate of the
representative, I think.
Yeah, representative of the kind of wider user base. So yeah, very interesting.
I'm still kind of blown away at the fact that PlayStation VR, which doesn't support Steam, has a
I know, right?
higher percentage of usage than
the Pimax.
Both of the Pimaxes that are on the list together. Interesting.
Yeah.
I always wonder about how these things
earlier.
Yeah.
Which was that
they might show up weird to Steam.
The percentage of people that have 6 headsets is so small it doesn't matter, which is probably something that you're like back to what you were saying before, in that it's true. The people who have lots of headsets probably is not a huge also the amount of people that would have that many headsets and are doing the survey, you've got to then get those people in the survey. So yeah, it's probably not a huge number. But
those numbers are so small though. I'm gonna start. Those numbers are so small. Comment?
So Darshan said, Ian, what do you think of Superdata's numbers?
Oh,
What do you think of them?
they're guesses that aren't called guesses. Yeah. I've never liked them. I've had numerous debates over the years over whether we should cover them or not, because there's arguments to be made that that they're a respected firm and have done their work and we should refer to them, and that's a fair argument, but we've just seen the fact that Facebook and Valve don't actually give us the core numbers of how many they're shipping of these actual headsets. So you just can't trust it until those companies come out and tell us. And I hate depending on them, because if you go back into the history and rewind to the Gear VR days, 5 to 10 million Gear VRs sold. 5 million plus, a lot of millions of these things.
That's a lot
sold for free with these phones. And people either never connected them to the headsets or used them once or twice. And then you've got Super Data saying, giving this amazing chart that shows huge growth in mobile VR, but no one's using them, and it's terrible for people, for guidance for developers.
My take on statistics is that 72% of all statistics are made up, and 43% of them use really bad math. So just
One other thing Gerald said, which I think is an interesting point, he asked he'd love to see is how many Oculus users don't connect to SteamVR, especially Rift and Rift S, and that would be interesting. That is an interesting thought. Although I have a feeling that surely that would be very low. Surely, if we're talking to people with a Rift S, the PSVR headset, so it's not a Quest, it's more kind of, pro user, I guess. You're gonna want to play Boneworks and stuff that's only on Steam. Surely that would be low. I can't see that being high. Anyway. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, let's move on to the next piece of news then. So it looks like Sony has revealed research on next-gen finger tracking VR controllers.
Let's go.
Ooh. I've seen some renders, and I've seen some say, hey, there we go. I love having a screen up here. I feel like some of the drawbacks to me personally about Index may translate over into what Sony is doing as well. So, if you accidentally hit this sensor when you meant to hit this sensor, and because your hand isn't positioned correctly, I don't know. Ian, you've got probably more experience with the Index controllers than I do. How accurate is it if your hand isn't in the perfect spot?
Yeah, it's okay. The problem is there aren't that many interactions built around them. Like if you go in the Aperture Hand Lab, which still today remains one of the few things that really made use of even that symbol. So you could do rock, paper, scissors with a robot, and it works. You throw down scissors, you throw down paper, you throw down rock, and I don't remember it not seeing it correctly. And I probably went through that thing 4 or 5 times. So this in the video that you see with this research, we've got that on our channel. The finger sensing is really impressive. Like I can't really reach it, but that surface where you're showing the thumb on, we recognized the thumb in a lot of positions along that ridge. That was pretty impressive.
I was surprised that too. Now, because I don't have an Index, so I don't know the specifics, but what interests me watching this video is that, like, it seemed to really track the thumb quite well, lifting up from where it is there and putting it onto the other part that's on the right, there. It seemed to really track the kind of movement of the thumb when it would move between those two positions. Does the Index have that level of kind of moving between?
No. It's got a little bit of sensitivity on the thumb area, but, like even ET controllers that are on Kickstarter don't recognize if you move your fingers in that kind of vertical way, like all that there are so many different positions for your fingers to be in, and these look some of the most impressive in the video, at least in the video research. And what they can do is hypothetically use computer learning, machine learning algorithms to sort of really identify all those positions with much more accuracy. We kind of hope to see that with the new touch controllers, if those have those kinds of improvements.
Can you hear what this says, Ian? Can you hear it? It says Half-Life Alyx on PSVR2. That's what that image emanates. It's got big Half-Life Alyx on PlayStation energy to me.
So, do we think it's going to be called PSVR2? Or will it be PSVR S or XE?
Plus,
PSVR SE.
Plus. Neo. PSVR Pro or Neo.
True.
Yeah.
You know what? Pro is probably that, because if we're thinking that the existing PSVR works with PS5, I'm getting mixed up with my names here, then PSVR Pro makes sense. It's like, well, if you want the latest one, it makes sense. Then you know it's a clear, buy this one, it's the new one, it's the Pro one, or you can get the old one and it's not as good, but you can hook it up anyway.
Do we know, looking at this image, I'm just seeing there's two little holes down on that big base there. I wonder if those are tracking the thing. I mean, I'm assuming it's some form of capacitance, but I wonder if those holes are like cameras or something.
I was thinking that's just, I mean, this is a prototype, so it's just using some kind of powering mechanism in there. Like, they're not going to consumerize the battery tech just for a prototype like that.
Oh, yeah.
And the video did have a big disclaimer saying no visual capture used for the tracking. It's all a sensor. So definitely not a camera. And Chris, some comments. Chris has said, would you want that giant block at the end of the controller? I'm presuming that's because it's a prototype and you wouldn't have a hammer type block at the end in the final product. And I saw some comments. I can't remember who said it before because it's scrolled up now, but someone said it's amazing how good the Quest hand tracking is compared to this kind of technology and the index and whatnot, which I think is a very good point, right? Like, you look at how good that hand tracking is, and you still, with stuff like this on PSVR, it's still amazing that you have hand tracking on the Quest, which is only going to get better. Oh, Adam said P5 VR, like PSVR with a 5. That's that'd be a tricky one. I'm not sure. Okay. Or PSVR Series X. Man, there's a lot of
PSVR
Xbox.
This really confused the market.
Series X, PSVR. Yeah.
That's
pretty good.
I want to be able to truly face palm, because when I do it now, my controller just hits I can't. VR is stopping me from being able to fully face palm.
What a problem to have.
A spot. I love it.
What a problem to have.
To go along with the other PSVR stuff, the last piece of news that we have this week is that Saints and Sinners, Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, launches on PSVR, and Vader Immortal is coming this summer to PSVR. How cool is that? I don't know, Ian.
Cool.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I think when they first announced Vader Immortal, they kind of indicated or suggested it was a timed exclusive, even though the whole, like, they built into ad campaigns for Quest, they bundled it for a while. They did a lot to really push that as a Oculus product, and so it's great to see it coming to PSVR. I think it'd be interesting to see whether the dojo really works on PSVR well.
That's true, actually.
Now, they've got those wands. The wands are a very good fit for lightsabers, but the dojo is the thing that should keep you coming back to the Vader experience, and you obviously can't turn around really well on a PSVR.
Are they going to change it so that it's just like a 180? The dojo just a 180 thing? How would you? Yeah, they must have to do that. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird thing, because I wondered about a game like this, or a game like Vader, not having really good 360. I mean, I'd say you get about a 2 to 220 pretty much degree movement in PSVR before it starts getting a little wonky. I'm not sure how this will go.
we talked about it a little bit last week, but is anyone out there? Let us know if you're in the Echo Arena beta now that the Echo Arena beta is out there. But I love it so much because you can turn around 360 and never have to think about it again. And if you have to think about not turning around within the first 5 minutes of Vader Immortal, that instantly makes it a less compelling experience than a Quest where you can kind of just circle 3 times and take in your surroundings without ever having to have that baggage of thinking
like
about
to
not
me,
turning
the coolest part of Vader Immortal was, the first time Vader's in a scene with you and he's standing there and you can just kind of look around and his gaze kind of follows you, and that's really cool. I can't imagine what that'd be like if you're stuck in one place. One thing Chris said as well is, which I think is a valid point. Where's the Sony end of this trade? I want Astrobot on my Quest. So yeah, presumably there's a Sony end, right?
See, I don't think it was a trade.
Presumably.
We did have that talk, or there was that
Yeah.
quote out there about possibly doing trading, and I don't think this qualifies as one of the trades because of
I love the
time
idea
thing.
of the trade. Like,
Yeah.
what's the trade? It's like some secret deal where they meet in back alleys. They're like, here, we'll give you Vader Immortal for Astrobot, and they're like, oh, I don't know, is that worth it?
We could do a little March Madness chart up here and have, which is the game that should survive to the end of the tournament. Yeah.
Now, aren't we getting?
Nice.
You know what it is? They traded it for Tetris Effect.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. True.
Tetris Effect was an Epic Store. That went to Epic Store and yeah, so that wasn't exactly a PSVR thing. They were already on another platform.
Okay, well,
that's true. Oh, this is.
I don't know. Do we have any other
interesting
stuff we want to say about this, or Sony, or PSVR, any of that?
Walking Dead?
I mean,
Walking Dead's out? Is that?
Yeah.
It's a big one.
That's
like the PSVR, we talked about this. Jamie had that great edit out there that it's going to be a long wait for PSVR2. And those original PSVR owners, if that's the only headset you have and you keep hearing about these new amazing games coming out for other platforms, it's nice to see the PSVR schedule getting, a lot of these ports. There's, Pistol Whip. I did it. Pistol Whip coming sometime this summer. But it's just nice to see the PSVR owners aren't getting left out or forgotten. There's still more things coming to the platform.
Humor me here, as someone who has only used PSVR a few times, and every time I have, it's never been a game where I have to have some kind of smooth locomotion or movement. It's always like, Space Pirate Trainer or something. What is actually the method used to when you're using move controllers in any game like this or Vader, how do you move around?
You
to me, that's the biggest thing. Like, how do you
just don't teleport?
So what? It's just a button press to teleport. That's it.
I honestly don't have any idea. I'm not really sure how that would work.
Because to me, it's like you're playing this great game, but also at what cost? But I mean, I guess that's better than nothing until PSVR2, right? But until PSVR2 with Alyx launches. But hey, we'll see.
Hey,
we'll see what that.
Let's well, cool. That's the news for the week. Let's move on to our next piece, which is release of the week. So this is where we talk about things we played this week. Harry, have you played anything new this week?
What have I been playing? No, actually, not particularly. I haven't been playing anything particularly new. Actually, I was checking out some Alyx mods last week on which I mentioned in the podcast, and I checked out a few more of those. And we've got a little roundup piece with the best Alyx mods. We've had some other people email us some more, which I've got to check out as well, because that just seems to be on an exponential increase in terms of stuff that people are putting out there. But no, I haven't actually. I've been doing other stuff this week. Haven't played anything new. Ian, what about you? Anything on your release radar?
I'm under embargo on a couple side quest things that are very cool, but I don't want to sort of let the cat out of the bag. There's one that's coming tomorrow, and I think there's another one that's probably a week off or more, and both are very cool, very interesting. And yeah, I don't want to spoil anything there.
What's this space?
Still gotta. Yeah, I'm hiding.
You been playing anything, Kyle? What have you been up to?
I have. I've done some things in VR chat this week, and I played around with some avatar creation, and I've played some Rec Room with my kids, which has been very fulfilling. We haven't been able to go bowling in a long time, so we went VR bowling in Rec Room.
How many headsets do you guys have? Can you all be in Rec Room at once?
Internet won't hold up, will it?
The problem that I have is not the number of headsets. I have that covered. The problem is viable PCs that I can plug them into to be able to do such a thing. Yes. Plus, I've been going through AA batteries like they're going out of style. I go through batteries nonstop. Yeah.
I feel like I go through enough between my two controllers, and my Switch controller, my GameCube Switch controller. I feel like if I had more than 2 touch controllers, I just had to have a giant box of AA just to.
Here, first world VR community problems is trying to figure out whose controllers are whose. Like
I've got stickers.
True.
See, I know.
Stickers,
I said that to the kids yesterday. I said we need to label these somehow, like get skins or colors or something.
I reckon you could get some. I don't know if this exists, but I reckon you can get custom printed battery, like on the touch little battery slidey bit. I reckon on like Etsy or something, someone would 3D print. Like
hey, I got a 3D printer. I'll make some fun stuff.
On the battery thing, I've been testing these out and they're really cool, but they've got batteries that have micro USB ports directly on the battery, and they usually ship with like a 4 times. So you've got a 4 times micro USB thing, so you just plug it into a wall, and you can plug in all 4 batteries directly into the charger and just pull them off one at a time when they're ready. Those are all over Amazon.
That's beautiful.
Black Tube, I think it's called. I can't remember the exact name, but there's like a popular brand. It's pretty useful.
I'll have to go check out their website. I'll go to blacktube.com. I'm assuming that's right.
You have a fan in the chat.
I do.
Reckoner has said, just want to mention, I really like Kyle. He's such a nice guy. I've been following for years. Very pleased he's a member of Upload now. There you go.
Hey,
that's a nice
I like
shout-out.
you too. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Nice comment about Kyle. So there you go.
Awesome.
That just thought I'd raise your ego a bit by mentioning that. So
if it goes any further,
what else we got? We got the now. Is it the hot topic? Is it hot topic?
That I guess that's release of the week. But I've been really looking forward to this conversation all day. Okay, it's time for the hot topic of the week, folks. Try to follow along. I expect there to be a lot of comments on this one. VR is dead. Articles need to die. Where are they coming from? When will they end? When are these people? I mean, can I just go up and slap them across the face and put a headset on their head and say, here, if you're going to make a comment, if you're going to have an opinion, at least have one based on real stuff. The real
I like that I can see
the
comments moving faster. I like that. I can see it through his screen now.
Like, people have been like, no. Like, because you were like, VR is dead. And everyone's like, no. Like, what is he doing? No,
I just cannot figure out it.
Dark Origins keeps putting no. He's very adamant.
You know what?
Don't worry. You don't have to convince us.
Here's my comparison. It's like only watching Phantom Menace and saying that all Star Wars sucks.
Star Wars is dead. Star Wars, watching Phantom Menace saying Star Wars is dead.
I'm just so disappointed that
honestly, that
journalists
could have been
out
the
there are
death of
doing
Star
this.
Wars.
They're saying
I don't know.
What?
Where's David to defend Revenge of the Sith? Let's talk about which is the best Star Wars now. Yeah, let's.
No. Let's talk about
it's one big analogy.
You know what? I get it now. I understand why there's so many zombie games. Because VR refuses to die.
Oh my God, Kyle.
That's quotable. Put that on a t-shirt.
on the Saints and Sinners PSVR release. VR refuses to die. The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. Oh dear.
I love it.
Well, it was unfortunate because this week there was a proliferation of VR is dead in many forms, or VR is not what it's cut up to be kind of stuff everywhere. It was this week there was a real, I think part of it was, which I didn't want to get into earlier because it was a separate topic, but this part of it was the Steam hardware survey. There was a lot of places that spun that as like only 2% of Steam, which yes, when you say 2%, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you put it into the wider context, I think is a fair amount. There's just a lot of it this week.
Yeah.
And a lot of people on Twitter, there was the New York Times article with the Oculus Go, where, they were kind of like, VR is dead, but we only could get a hold of an Oculus Go, which baffles me.
Which makes
in so many
Ian
ways
so happy. Ian is such a fan of the Go.
It really, I saw someone comment, I think you posted, Ian, and someone commented on it saying, why, like, who approved this instead of being like, let's just wait till we can get the Quest, which to me, that is the biggest part of that. I'm like, I don't understand how that.
Yeah,
that got through,
there it is.
Like, anyway,
that's my desktop.
Thing.
That's my wallpaper on my Windows desktop. It's beautiful, Ian. You need that.
Yeah. So I'm. VR is dead made a lot of sense if you were like making that hot take in 2017, right? Like you didn't have standalones on the market, and PSVR was not being taken up as quickly as all these companies said it would. You had all the misleading information from super data that was out there that kind of suggested it was going to be bigger, and they were suggesting that mobile VR was going to be so big when you slot in the phone and
Where what
I'm back.
What
appropriate time for the conversation to die.
They pushed the button and they turned us off because we were speaking the truth. We were being censored. That's what it was.
Everyone in the comments is like the anti-VR crowd shut them down, and then there's been a lot of X. We're back. Anyway, the anti-VR energy did something to the studio.
I don't know.
Let's continue the discussion.
Oh, wow. A little frightened by that.
I know, that was very strange.
No,
anyway,
not like this. Ugh.
I know, everyone was slowly faded out of existence.
That's great.
The big anti-VR energy. Anyway.
Ian, do you have any more to say about this?
Oh, I don't know. So 2007 it made a lot more sense to make, or 2017 it made a lot more sense to make that argument. 2007 it made a lot more sense to make that argument too, and 1997. But like, doesn't make sense to make that argument in 2020 when Mark Zuckerberg is literally saying we cannot make these things fast enough, and I wish I could make more of them. Like, they finally zeroed in on what's working. I loved Jesse Schell, the CEO of Schell Games. I think he had a quote out there saying, if we can't get a market out of Quest, it's time to fold it up again. Like, it's time to just pack up shop and go home. This is going to come back in another 10 years or whatever. And I think more or less he was the one who I had a quote from him on our site where he was saying he thought that they would sell 1 million Quests in year one, and I would be surprised if they're below that number. I would be really legitimately surprised if they're not over 1 million. But it's like it's not the time to be making that argument. And if you only got your hands on a Go, if that's your last VR experience, if your Gear VR is your last VR experience, you need an updated experience. You need to try the latest hardware. And, if you get a headache after 20 minutes of Quest because it's heavy, that's a completely different thing than you getting a headache because you leaned around in 3 dots.
VR legs is a real thing. Okay, it really is. And I was just talking to a few friends of mine recently. They're like, how long does it take before you get comfortable with it? And I can remember back when I was a kid and I showed my dad Doom for the first time. A guy who played Wolfenstein 3D nonstop, Spear of Destiny, Blake Stone, Aliens of Gold, that type of 3D game. But as soon as I put him in Doom, he and spazzed out. He couldn't handle it. He says the same thing about VR, but you have to work into it. You do have to work into it. Some people are just really good with it, and other people, my wife nopes out of it after about 30, 40 minutes, but she gets seasick anytime she's on a boat. So you just have to work up to it. And some people are fortunate, other people aren't.
I think it's interesting. Wesley has said, when will VR have its iPhone moment? Which I think is an interesting, what qualifies as the iPhone moment for VR. Because almost, I think depending on what happens next, you might look back and say, although different, the Quest might have been that moment, depending on how we go in the future.
I don't
know. What do you think?
I have a problem with that comparison because the iPhone moment wasn't a moment. It was the start of a moment. Just because the iPhone came out and like 3 or 4 really, really cool hipster people that I knew had one, doesn't mean that mainstream consumer adoption occurred. It took time. It's gradual.
No, but I think that's the thing, right? Is that if that's why I think the Quest might be, because it's not saying that's the mainstream moment. It's saying that's the part where you can go, from there on, it kind of that kicked off. And not everyone had an iPhone, the first ever iPhone, but I kind of had heard of people and seen some new people that did. And then, as you went to a few years later and a few generations later, all of a sudden there's more iPhones everywhere, right? And I think if you look back, you might go, the Quest was the one that everyone started kind of getting to know, and then later on with the Quest 5 or whatever, all of a sudden it's the thing, right?
See, okay, so if you want to know about when VR is going to have its iPhone moment, it has. It has. When we look back years from now, we'll say the Quest, that was the thing that gave us our iPhone moment. We just didn't realize it at the time. Yeah, I think that's
Gerald just pointed out, what does mainstream mean? He said laptops don't sell as much as smartphones, but I'd still argue they're mainstream.
Mainstream, in my opinion, and I've always said this, and you can go back and find quotes of me saying this, mainstream is when grandma buys one. It's that simple. When grandma sees value in a product, it's mainstream.
That's true.
And
my
some
grandma
grandmas
now
are
has
cooler
a
than
smartphone.
others. Yeah.
But mine now has a smartphone. I never thought she'd have one. She does. So
I agree with you there, Kyle, on the Quest. I think what makes an interesting discussion, though, is to look at what Go's place in that history represents. Because as much as I do fight about Go, complain about its limitations, do we get Quest without Go? Right? Like, was Go a necessary step on the path to a Quest? And I always wonder, I wonder in the grand scheme of things, when we look back at history, what kind of role Go played in making sure that we had a Quest at the end of the day.
That's a good point. That's a very valid point. Well, I don't know. I mean, when they write the history, we'll have these moments and we'll go, see, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Oh no. All right. Okay. So I think we're ready to wrap this episode up. Ian, do you have any final thoughts?
I don't know if you guys are prepared to talk about the Upload VR showcase, but we have the Upload VR showcase coming in June. We've got info on uploadvr.com. If you happen to be a developer out there, happen to have a trailer ready to go, there might be space left. Email Jamie at uploadvr.com. That's JAMIE at uploadvr.com if you'd like to try to get into the showcase. But we have, I'm hearing some of the inklings out there of some of the things that we've got coming up, and it is some really cool stuff coming. Very cool VR games and updates to share with the community. And we're teamed up with IGN, which is awesome. And we're working on some amazing things for that showcase.
8th of June. Be there or be square.
Be there, B2D.
I like how you said 8th of June because we did American in our date formatting, and people were like,
don't worry,
confused about whether it was 3 months off or not.
June 8th or 8th
I'm
of
well
June.
used to the well used to the American date system. Sadly, the inferior date system, but yes, 8th of June. Just gonna put that out there. It makes no sense. Anyway,
so Harry, do you have any final thoughts for this episode?
Not particularly. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Catch you again soon. As Ian said, keep an eye out for the showcase and all that good stuff coming up. That's about it.
And hey, if you're sitting in quarantine or trying to escape, keep in mind that uploadvr.com is your place to go for all of the fun stuff coming out of the VR world. And if you get bored with our website, which I can't see how you could, you can go to YouTube and go check out our YouTube page with all sorts of fun media to check out as well, including this right here. I want to do a big shout out to the folks in big screen. If you're watching a big screen, you guys rock.
And thank you for joining us, Darshan.
Yes, absolutely. And then thanks to all the people who are making comments and keeping this lively and entertaining for us and for you. So
sorry, there's a lot of comments today, guys. But thank you. I didn't get to point out all of them, but there was actually quite a lot of comments and there's some good discussion, and they were going past very fast on my screen. So thanks for stopping by. Sorry if I didn't get to your comment.
Okay, well, let's wrap this episode up. Thank you all very much. Be smart, be safe, and we'll see you in the future.